Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ventures Podcast. I'm excited about today's episode with Jairus Morris. He is an inspiring entrepreneur, incredibly passionate, talented individual getting after a wellness company for the urban community. And so in this episode, we talk a lot about his story, about how he started, about how he navigated identifying the product, identifying the market, building a team, navigating investors. It's a truly inspiring startup story, and so I'm honored to be able to share that with you today. So if you're watching, you can also listen anywhere that you get your podcast. You can just search for Ventures and it should show up. And if you're listening, Jairus does actually show the bottles at various times throughout the episodes. So you can visit wclittle.com, and there you'll also see more show notes and links to the different things that we talk about today. So with that, please enjoy this episode with Jairus Morris. All right, Jairus, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited about this episode for a whole variety of reasons. It's been awesome to see your journey thus far, and just really excited about what you're doing. So would you mind just starting out by telling us a little bit about yourself and kind of what you're up to?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Jairus, like you said. I'm the founder over at SUPLMNT. A little bit about myself. I've always had the entrepreneurial spirit. I've always wanted to kind of start something that I could, sell, honestly. So, I guess I can kind of give you guys like a quick synopsis of pretty much my journey and how I got to where I'm at right now. Talking to Will. So, you want me to jump right in?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, awesome. So what happened is, years ago, I was working for McKesson Medical. It was a medical supply company, and like during working there, I ended up going to different in services where like manufacturers would come in and kind of just like explain their product, where they got it manufactured at, and that kind of sparked an idea in my head. Like, man, all these people are doing is just having an idea, reaching out, finding somebody that can produce it, and then selling it to companies. So I'm just like, man, I know I could do something like this. So, I ended up, my journey is kind of all over the place. I ended up, from selling, wholesaling cars to, how I discovered what I'm doing right now, which was selling on Amazon. So I got to Amazon and I'm just like, okay, I need to figure out like how I can work this. So of course, my journey kind of started a slightly different before I started to trying to get into private label. I ended up, reaching out to manufacturers, trying to see if they would allow me to sell their products. And it worked for some time. I was selling pet supplies, but I wasn't passionate about it. It wasn't my own brand. I had a lot of rules and regulations to follow on Amazon because I didn't own the brand. So from there I decided, man, it's time for me to kind of like private label my own brand. So I ended up downloading this service that kind of shows all the top selling items on Amazon. So I looked through hardware, different places that will be like a low cost if I wanted to private label it. So nothing electronical because electronics always have like different faulty issues, and I wasn't prepared to have to deal with that kind of thing. So so that's how I discovered this one brand that was it was crazy when I saw the sales, like 40,000 units a month, and this was just based on Amazon, but I myself never heard of this brand. So, I just started to do some research, reaching out to a bunch of different people that I know, like, hey, have you ever heard of this brand? Just to give you guys, I'll name drop real quick. It was a Hydro Flask. So, the brand was Hydro Flask, and I'm just like, wow, how is this brand selling 40,000 bottles a month? Yet I've never heard of it. So from there, I decided to, just kind of see what other competitors they had, to see like somebody has to be reaching my demographic, because it's like there's no way. So that's when I discovered Yeti. I discovered Clean Canteen. I'm just like, okay, these are some cool brands, but they're when I look through their pictures, I realized that they don't resonate with me because they're not really targeting me. So that's when I kind of decided, man, I need to, I think I can find a solution to this. Let me create a bottle and, let me put it on the market and kind of gear it toward a certain demographic to see what'll happen. So, from there, I ended up, doing the traditional way most entrepreneurs start off, is like going to Alibaba, trying to find a manufacturer through there. which on there it's nothing really original on Alibaba. It's all white label stuff. So I ended up finding a knockoff Hydro Flask and creating a name, slapping a logo on there, running a campaign for about 2 weeks, and then I launched. It was about maybe like 300 to 400 bottles. And to my surprise, the community, like everybody that I was marketing to, it just went crazy. People ended up buying the bottles, loving it, making it seem like it was new technology. Like, man, this is keeping our stuff cold all day. Like, oh, like when are you gonna come out with a hunter green color? Like, I was just like, wow. So this is just my peer. So if this is working with them, I'm like, man, if I can actually, you know, create some type of partnership with some people that can, actually design my own bottle, it could be something that I can own and then eventually, scale. So, from there, I ended up doing some research to find out who were the founders of Hydro Flask, and I also looked up who's the founders of Yeti. So, the good thing about Hydro Flask is that the owners, the people that created it, sold it over 10 years ago. So I'm like, these guys can't still be involved, so there should be no like legal issues that could stop them from giving me information. So I kind of like rock paper scissors shoot, because there was like three names on there, and that's where I ended up meeting the original founder of Hydro Flask, Travis Roshbash, and he connected me with a warehouse. He got me in contact with Proto Ventures, which is a phenomenal firm, and these guys have been helping me out like crazy along the way. We got a black industrial engineer, Ish, or designer, and he helped us design these beautiful bottles that we have right here. This is just I wanted to bring this one on because it's just a basic bottle without any color. It kind of just shows like all the details and everything.
Nice.
And this
Yeah,
is the
vast majority of people listen, but hey, if you're listening, you can watch. I'll put the link in the show notes. You can see the bottle he just showed there.
right, right. So from there we ended up you know, doing some fundraising and raising around so we can able to get the bottle designed, manufactured, shipped out here so we can kind of test the market and see if people are being responsive. And they are. So that's kind of how we got to where we are today. So I know it was a handful
That's
of
good.
information, but that's the journey. That's
All
where
right,
we
a
are.
million questions. Let's start from the beginning. Were you always, even as a little kid, entrepreneurial minded? Were you doing stuff, or did that come a little bit later in life?
It was kind of instilled in me at a young age. I used to go to the dollar store and like buy candy in bulk and kind of sell it in school, as well as back in the day used to be these things. We used to actually kind of reference this when we were kind of create these original bottles, the bodega ones. Is like quarter waters, which is like hugs. I used to go and buy like a case of those because in school they didn't have vending machines at the time, at least in middle school. So like people always wanted juice, but there was never any juice. So I would go buy a case of it and kind of sell them off for a quarter a piece. Um, yes, I mean I would say definitely entrepreneurship has kind of like been in my blood for quite some time.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. So, all right, so you in the supplement story, you had some original bottles, got some traction, and then tried to figure out how to scale. How, what was that process like when you were trying to, because every entrepreneur is trying to sell some kind of product or service and trying to
Right.
find some kind of market and people to buy it. How did you take that next step? It sounds like you got connected to a couple people, you're working in manufacturing, but what if you could dive into details a little bit about that journey? Because I know a lot of entrepreneurs are right there in their own stories as well.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I do think a big part of it is kind of finding something that's like unique. It's just kind of like finding like your unique
Mm,
like niche. So like I'm not reinventing the wheel with insulated water bottles, but what I am doing is targeting a demographic that's kind of not been targeted before. So that's what kind of gives me like more of a like like a niche, and it's more something that I feel like I can scale because a lot of people, this is kind of new technology for them. So getting into that pathway of trying to figure out what item is going to be, how you could possibly scale it based on how many people you think your target audience is going to be. All of this stuff is kind of really just trial and error. It's just it's having an idea and just having that consistency to kind of see it through, and then you're going to come into these different pitfalls where you're going to be like, man, I don't know, like it's getting kind of slow, and then it's up to you to kind of be more innovative to kind of figure out, okay, how can I make this thing work? So not sure if that answered your question, but
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. So, all right, you have a product,
yeah.
and you came up with a new name for the product. You dialed in the brand. How many different types of bottles do you have now? Like, what are the products that are available for people to buy right now?
Yeah, sure. So right now we have the 24-ounce bottle. We just got a straw lid created, which was pretty much like a fan kind of feedback. Everybody's like, "Oh, we need straw lids." We ride our bikes, stuff like that, as well as a 20-ounce coffee tumblers, coffee, tea, juice. I mean, whatever you want to do with this thing on a beach. I've seen it when I'm out when I'm going on vacation a couple times. I see that there's a ton of people that utilize insulated water bottles while they're on the beach because it's burning up hot. These things are gonna weather the storm.
Mm,
But I did want to touch base on the whole picking the name thing because we actually started off with a completely different name, and I'm gonna say it. It was Antidote, it was like a favorite for me. But one thing I would just give like slight advice to any entrepreneurs is whatever sector or whatever you're trying to get involved in, make sure you do a name check to make sure that you can own it
right.
because we thought we did, but we didn't. So when we got down to it, it turns out there was a whole mogul company that actually owned the name Antidote for when it comes to like the water bottle sector. So luckily we found it early on before we printed Antidote on 1,000 bottles
Right.
and had had to go back and scrub that whole mission and redo it. So luckily we found it, but that's definitely something you want to double check before you start printing the name on any materials so you don't get sued.
Now, that's a really good word, really good word. Now, I remember the original conversations when we were talking. What inspired me was kind of the vision. Yes, finding a niche product to be able to sell, but there was a lot deeper mission that you had
100%.
about wellness in the community. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, for sure. So, me growing up in the inner city, Philadelphia is where I'm from. We actually, and I'm pretty sure mostly all urban communities can kind of resonate with this exact same thing. Is nobody really goes over the importance on wellness and like drinking water, staying healthy, being active. It's more so it's really not taught. There's a lot of food deserts in the inner city where you don't have as much access to like fresh foods. They open like smaller corner stores and stuff like that that sells a bunch of MSG filled foods, all types of crazy heavy sugar and stuff like that. So that's something that really plagues the urban community. You kind of can see from last year when like well COVID is still here, but like last year it hit really hard and it really affected the Black community because it's like our health is not at the forefront of our minds. So it's like I wanted to utilize my brand and my platform to pretty much try to educate the inner city on the importance of drinking water versus just like high sugar juices, soda. I know people that don't drink water at all. You know what I mean? So and you start to notice those effects later on in life when you end up getting like diabetes, high blood pressure, a lot of different cardiovascular issues. So I wanted to, leverage this platform, especially because it's an insulated water bottle brand, is to encourage the community to like, man, we need to be more conscious about actually drinking more water and staying healthy. So it's definitely one of the major missions that supplement's gonna accomplish over these next couple months.
And so your own athletic and wellness journey. I mean, it sounds like you've been uh, quite active in a variety of different things. What have you been up to athletically? Like, how do you stay fit? How do you think about wellness?
How I think about wellness is pretty much is staying active. It's just not like sitting down all day. Running. I'm a calisthenic guy, so I'm a traditional push up, pull up, dip kind of guy.
Mm.
Getting out to the track, try to get a couple miles in every week. Pretty much staying active as well as like really upping my intake on water. Honestly, and it's kind of weird to say, and it's not just like a ploy to get you to get a bottle. But when you have a water bottle and you put water in here, for some reason you just end up drinking more water. I
Yeah,
don't know if it's because the experience of like I don't know of the lid or just drinking it, but like when I put water into here, I'm like done so quickly. I'm just like, man, I need to get more water. So it's just like I think that being more conscious on drinking more water, it just helps you in general. Like when it comes to like even going to the bathroom, like nobody wants to be struggling getting hemorrhoids and stuff like that. Drink some water. So yeah.
that's good. That's good. So what's the vision? So right now you got water bottles. Obviously, we've got link in the show notes to go buy one.
For sure.
In fact, as I'm sitting here sipping water, I'm realizing I'm drinking out of a glass. I got the wrong
It's a
wrong container. If I
it's a
had,
party foul, but it's okay. I'll be sending you this soon. It's on its
yes,
way.
if I had the supplement, you're probably right. There is something about having your own water bottle and just having it full of water.
100%.
Just drink it. Those kind of mind
100%.
hacks I think are really, really
100%.
habits and mind hacks are really important for wellness. So
Really,
what's
really. I mean,
yeah.
so what we have going on, and what has been going on is currently. I do want to kind of shout out Warby Parker. We actually were able to do about a $3,000, a 3,000 not dollar, but a 3,000 unit order with them. It was a custom bottle. Um, that was something that I kind of like, did my own little like DMing, reaching out to different people. We had an artist collab, and our artist ended up doing a mural for Warby Parker in Las Vegas. And one of their buyers, saw the bottle that he was using, and was like, "Hey, like, what brand is that? I've never seen that brand." So he told him it was Supplement. He ended up sending me the lady's email. We chopped it up. I work with their art team. They did a basic bottle. I'll actually show it to the people
Oh,
that end up watching the video.
there you go.
This is the actual Warby Parker bottle right here. It has their story in 100 words. It's a pretty cool design that they created, and I was able to get the factory to pump out a bunch of those, and so every single Warby Parker employee by the end of this year is going to have, it's a Christmas gift. So they haven't posted us yet, but they're waiting until they give all their employees their Christmas gift, and then we'll be posted, and there possibly some retail opportunities there. So what we got going on now is just we're going to be featured on Amazon. We're working with some pro athletes. We're trying to pretty much build the momentum up so we can have like a really strong end of the quarter. So just stay tuned for when the tumblers drop, the 20-ounce tumblers, and stay tuned for when the straw lids are going to drop. And two new colors are actually on their way. They're actually at the warehouse right now. We're going to be pumping that stuff out shortly.
Oh, nice. Okay, so all those things are going to be available in the next few months, kind of thing.
For sure. 100%.
That's great. All right. So, given the vision, wellness, community, etc., where are you heading? Like, what are the next products? I mean, it sounds like water bottles may be just the start, but where? And not to do too many spoilers, but how are you thinking about the future?
I'm thinking about the future is gonna be massive. I'm not gonna name drop yet, but we are working with a really large brand that does bags and different things like that. I think a lot of things that go hand in hand with water bottles, because water bottle is something that you just take with you everywhere. So
Mm,
we kind of want to kind of stick into that space. So we'll eventually end up coming out with of course, more and bigger sizes, but also you know probably some backpacks, probably just different stuff you can take to the beach, like insulated coolers that are
mm,
stylish that you can take wherever you go, to cookouts, to festivals and stuff like that. So I think the pipeline is going to be really huge. It's just right now it's just like getting to the nitty gritty, and kind of like creating our audience, creating some loyal customers, and then from there, like, I feel as though the sky's the limit.
yeah, yeah. So obviously, I've worked with entrepreneurs for quite some time. Built my first two companies in the 2000s. Have just been in the hot seat myself or alongside founders for a long time. Every single founder, if they're honest, talks about how just brutally hard the process of of building a company is. And you got
Right,
entrepreneurship and sales in your DNA, it sounds like.
right, right,
But what has the process been like for you just in the
right.
last year as you're getting supplement off the ground? Like, how have you navigated investors, team, product, manufacturing, distribution? Like, how have you navigated all that?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm inclined to agree with that statement. It's definitely a struggle, being an entrepreneur, and I think that's why if it was easy, everybody would do it.
Right,
Honestly, I mean,
right,
I
right.
believe that phrase wholeheartedly. So, how I've been working with it is just because I just like have a like determination, really.
Mm,
That's kind of what keeps me going, is because like I just believe in the product. I believe in myself, and I think those are like two big things you're gonna have is like everybody's not going to be interested in your product. Everybody's not going to think it's such a great idea. I mean, before honestly, to before I even got to Proto, I mean, I've talked to a bunch of different investor groups, and a lot of people will just be like, oh, yeah, I think that's a good idea, and then it's just like it goes nowhere from there. So it just took me to just have the belief in myself that this is a good product. I just have to find the right group that will believe in this. So having that consistency, is definitely like a catalyst in the very beginning. And then once you get involved and like people are trusting you with their funds, like, oh, I believe in you. It takes you as a founder to like really find that thing in your head that makes you think like, man, people are believing in me, so I really have to go out there and get it. I really have to go out there and make sure, that I'm utilizing their funds properly. Um, so, finding distribution channels. I also think having a strong team, it's like you can't really, I mean, you can start something yourself, but at the end of the day, you have to leverage other people and their expertise because you're probably an expert in maybe a couple things, but not everything. So I think, strategically building a team, you might have to cut some people off during the process,
Yeah.
but you'll realize that you are as good as your team. So there's stuff that, I'm not an industrial designer, so there's no way I could have done this. So finding somebody that was, good to work with, that could help me put a vision together and execute was huge. Um, yeah, so I really just think like, building a actual team plus staying consistent and believing in your goals, and actually like making something happen is probably key. It's never going to be easy navigating through all these different channels because a lot of people don't have that kind of experience. Like for me, I came from a sales background. I understood like manufacturing and shipping, but like I've never personally did it myself. So it's a lot of trial and error, but it's like think through your decisions before you make it. Don't just don't just jump the gun, And advisors, I think that's also a good thing. Somebody that's been in the industry, people like Will, like other guys that I'm working with, Kyle, like people that have helped jumpstart brands, like kind of like get their advice, understand the other side of things, and then I feel like that'll kind of make you more well rounded. Like I feel like in this year I've grown
Mm.
a ton, and I feel like I'm still growing, every single passing day, honestly. So
So selling a
long-winded answer.
yeah, no, it's good. That's so selling a physical thing, a tangible good, direct to consumer. It's a marketing game, right?
Right.
It getting getting signal with all the noise out there, so you can get the message out. How how have how have you been doing that? How when and
Right.
what's your vision for how to market supplement effectively?
Yeah, so I do think having like a physical product um is slightly harder than like for instance like software or something like that, like where it's like a proven system where you can just kind of like have a target market. I feel like my target market is individuals, but it's still broad because you have to get a group of people to think, man, this brand is super cool, I want to buy it, and then also respect your price point as well. So you don't I would say you don't want to cheapskate your product because nobody wants something that's just completely cheaper than everything else. You don't want to completely overcharge because you don't want to seem like just like that obnoxious people that just think their stuff is just so what my advice honestly would be is when working with actual physical product, is just kind of figuring out like especially when it comes to influencers, like figuring out people that can kind of like market your product without them actually having to change anything in their
Mm,
everyday. So
mm.
this is something that I would tell anybody that's like has a physical product and they're like, man, I want to get blah 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 influencer to kind of support this brand. It's like what I've learned is, well, one thing, don't pay those random pages that like, oh yeah, give us $100 and we'll post you, because a lot of those times there's no engagement on those guys' pages. Like, and these are pitfalls that we've went through. Like
Right.
there's no engagement on those pages. You don't want to just send out a bunch of free stuff to a bunch of people that always get free stuff. So I'm partnered with a popular golfer, a urban golfer, Roger Steele. So I was able to kind of learn a lot on how influencers think. So influencers, if they're not interested in your product and you send it to them, they're going to be like, "Oh, thanks," but they're never going to post it. So what you want to do is you want to reach out to people that regularly use items similar to what you have. Like for instance, Ethica. It's like an underwear brand. So, people were always complaining about, man, we don't like to see people's underwear when they're like walking and then people sagging their pants. So Ethica said, okay, I'm gonna make it more of like an artsy kind of thing. I'm gonna put a whole bunch of art on these underwear and that's gonna solve the problem. It won't be an eyesore anymore. So what did they do? They sent the underwear to rappers and different people that always sag their pants because it's marketing without actually telling them to market because they're going to sag their pants anyway. So for some and it blew up. It worked like perfect. Everybody wants to wear ethic underwear. So similar with the bottle brand, I'm trying to connect with athletes and different people that regularly drink water all the time. Like you can see them with plastic bottles in their hand. You can see them drinking. You can see them walking through the tunnel into a game with like a plastic bottle or something like that. So my whole concept is to approach these guys, people that regularly drink water, give them something they can drink it with a better experience. Plus, being black owned, they can resonate with it, with the story and the trajectory of what we're trying to do. And then boom, I'm getting marketing without me actually having to do nothing. And once that stuff starts to show up, people will start to resonate with it. Like, wow, okay. So what brand is that? And then they'll tag us. And I feel like it'll be like more of an organic like growth. It's like more of organic growth strategy right there. So we're getting close. I got a player on the Jaguars that's already ready to walk through the tunnel when them people are taking pictures. He's going to tag us, send it to us. So yeah, I'm making the connection slowly but surely, for sure.
That's good. So now, obviously, in entrepreneurship, part of the reason why we started Proda is because when we looked at the numbers of the underrepresented people of all different types of people that don't get access to funds, that don't get access to entrepreneurship, it became clear, at least to me, that there were all kinds of systemic biases, sexism, racism, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, there have been waves in our society the last decade to kind of call attention to a lot of this.
Right.
But from your perspective, like what have you experienced? Like what can you share with the audience around what's it like being an entrepreneur in your shoes, in your context?
Definitely. I mean, I would say it's pretty rough. Trying to get, especially and honestly, it's no shot at the culture or anything, but it's like you try to get, when you try to raise funds, like a lot of people are kind of just like stuck in their ways, just kind of thinking of like just traditional things where people can make money, like like the stock market or like real estate. Nobody like really believes in like individual products as much. Like, okay, that's because, especially because it's hardware. It's like it's like something that you can touch. So it's a lot of risk involved in a business like this. So it's like you could spend a bunch of money on product and not actually be able to sell it. So that's the actual like I say that's kind of like the devil's advocate of like trying to raise money on hardware. But me starting a brand that's kind of geared toward the urban community, it was kind of awkward, honestly, in the beginning, trying to raise money to like a group of like white guys on a on a Zoom call. I was like, all right, so I look on a Zoom and I'm just like, I start to go through the people and I'm like, oh my god, I'm proud to present, and there's like really no minorities, like one Asian guy. I'm like, all right, so maybe he'll understand and he'll feel me. But it's not kind of how I look at it. It's really not looking at colors. It's really looking at like the actual mission. And if people on the call that are listening to this, if what I say can like resonate with them, then they'll just be interested. It doesn't matter that I'm targeting somebody that doesn't look like them. It's like, people have compassion. People understand like, okay, other people have, it's harder for other people. People aren't as privy to information as we are. So, I just said, I think this is a great mission. I think the product is going to be awesome. So I'm just going to talk to it regardless of who's, on the call, and it worked. So that's pretty much my journey with it's kind of just believing in it regardless regardless of like, the nature of it or the content of it, the context of it. So um it was my situation. It was very unique, but I do think when I was trying to raise money and other groups that looked like me, it was like impossible to do it. So it was actually refreshing talking to a different group that didn't look like me and that understood what I was trying to do and saw the vision. It was kind of like a breath of fresh air, to be honest.
Yeah. So what's your advice for investors, VCs listening in that are um, that are probably not as empathetic with the emotion that you just described when you're on a Zoom call or you're in a pitch meeting and there's a bunch of people there that don't look like them. Obviously, most entrepreneurs or most investors are at least cursorily familiar with the statistics of how ridiculous it is with the underrepresentation of certain groups.
Right.
But what's your advice to people that are that don't necessarily empathize with that emotion of feeling like an other on a call like that?
I would just say, smile and have an open ear. Like, don't don't especially because now we're in the age of like, oh, a lot of stuff is just happening through Zoom and stuff like that. Believe it or not, most people are looking at everybody's faces. They're trying to like they're feeding off the feedback that the VCs or whoever on there that's a potential investor is giving back. So you know, 9 times out of 10, I would say still ask those questions because whoever's presenting should know what they're talking about. But I would just say like have an open mind, have an open ear, and kind of just like I wouldn't, I can't say sympathize for it because it's I still think nothing good is given easy. So I say still treat it as if it's treat the person as if it's somebody like like how you would feel in that situation if you like how you were pitching on your very first time because most VCs or people that invest have kind of been through this whole process and they're like at the top. And I do think like a lot of people kind of forget how it feels to be that person that's like humbling themselves to kind of like ask for funds and stuff like that. So it's kind of just like, don't forget where you came from. You came from this same situation of, reaching out to these people. I do feel like, in the next 5 years, I might be in that seat, like listening to somebody like, oh, okay. So it's like, I won't forget how I felt in
Yeah,
that situation. So
that's good. That's
yeah,
good. Yeah, no, I mean, actually, not all VCs have gone through the entrepreneurial journey. There's plenty of just sort of finance people that come into the world and
just have money.
that don't necessarily have the experience of going through the grind of building a company.
Right.
And yeah, but you can kind of tell when
Yeah.
somebody in the room has done that because it's almost like you got the battle wounds. There's some camaraderie with regard to how ridiculous and terrible
Yeah.
men emotionally draining that process is. But yeah, no, I mean it's clear that you have the ambition and the grit to get through all of that, which is amazing.
For sure.
So then for you as you think about scaling, what are the next steps? What are the next steps with your team, fundraising rounds, like in as much as you feel comfortable sharing, what's next for you in supplement?
So as far as scaling, we're in talks with a couple different large retailers, and they kind of give you a blueprint on pretty much what you need to be able to get into those retail space. And I do think that's like the next opportunity for us is to actually kind of position the bottles to take on some type of retail chain. I think there's a huge story behind it. It's just like, excuse me, it's just like I would love to get the bottles in a place where there aren't really any bottles. Like if we've talked offline of different different brands that we're trying to target, and it's just like I think being able to bridge those gaps and get the bottles into retail is definitely like a next phase. But I do think like a current next phase is us getting our bottles on an Amazon platform. A lot of people can get stuff next day. Not saying that we can't get stuff to you quickly off our current platform, but I do think Amazon allows us to get in the faces of everybody. So that'll allow us to completely sell out of what we have, which gives us the opportunity to really scale. It shows us the numbers, it ups our valuation, and I do think we will be opening up a fundraising round probably in the next couple months. It's just us, creating our campaign and successfully executing it, which will make raising the funds a lot quicker and a lot more profitable. So I think right now it's just kind of getting us in like three different areas. Amazon, well, I would say four areas. Throwing this on Amazon, whatever traffic is coming off from our direct site, plus our collabs with big brands that we're actually in the works of collabing with, as well as trying to find that retail partner that we can use. So
That's good.
that's where we are.
All right. Well, any final words to audience listening in? Obviously, everybody should go buy. Again, I'll put the link in the show notes. Go purchase your favorite bottle. But any final words to entrepreneurs and early stage investors listening in terms of what you've learned, or any message you want to pass along?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say, just keep going. I mean, I think I originally kind of started this back in like 2018, and it's 2021, and I'm finally, I've came so far. I'm finally getting a lot of leeway. So it's just like you really just got to keep at it, man. If it's something that's worth creating, and you believe in it, I would just say just keep doing it, because it's been over 4 years, almost 5 years, and it's like I'm just now starting to like hit that peak where we could really create something massive. So I would say definitely stay consistent, keep at it, and always be willing to like listen and learn from people that have done it before you, because it's just a lot of information out there. So connecting with people like Will, like people that like are in the Proto network that have a lot of experience in different sectors. I just feel like it's never too late to learn more information, no matter the age. I'm 31, but I know people that are trying to start a business and they're 41. You know what I mean? There's no real age limit on there for you to kind of like blow up. Just staying consistent. So that'd be my advice for
Cool.
people.
Yeah, no, that's important. That's important. I mean, market timing, you can never really time it. So part of the reason why it's important to just keep going is because you never know when something's going to hit, some
Never
some
know.
new influence or something. Uh,
Yep.
so all right. So where can people follow you if they wanted to learn more about you online, learn more about Supplement online? What are the best channels or
For
ways to
sure.
reach you?
So I'm actually starting a YouTube channel, because I just feel like it's a lot of information, and I want people to kind of see this journey. I mean, we're in the beginning of something that's going to be huge, in my opinion. So it's just right now you guys can follow the supplement IG. It's spelled SUPLMNT. It's probably backwards on this video. As well as yeah, and you can follow us on TikTok. It's the same thing, supplement. Um, my personal page is my name, Jairus Morris, Jairus Morris, Morris. I don't really post as much on there, but the supplement page is the page where you can get all the updates, all the news, everything that's coming out, the lives that we're about to start doing. Yeah, just follow the journey.
Sweet, Jarius. Well, really appreciate the time. Thanks for sharing the stories.
Definitely, definitely appreciate the opportunity.
All right, a couple quick things before you go. Number one, I have a general newsletter where I write about technology and startups and health science and teaching people to code. And I write about a variety of different subjects that we talk about on this show. So if you go to wclittle.com, there you'll be able to subscribe, and you'll also be able to subscribe to particular topics. If you're just interested in one or a few of them, you'll be notified right when I publish new content in those areas. Number two, my partners and I at Proto Ventures have a portfolio company called Startup Rocket. If you go to startuprocket.com, there you'll be able to receive coaching guides and customize an operations framework for you and your team and your advisors to be on the same page in terms of what is the appropriate next step for you in your entrepreneurial journey. And finally, if you wouldn't mind leaving a review anywhere that you have listened to this podcast or watched this podcast, it would be super helpful to help those who might be interested in consuming this content as well. Thank you.